Welcome, friends of the true self. This is what this channel prompts you to discover in all sorts of ways. And this specific video is a commentary on the Yogasutra, which is such a rich text on spiritual awakening and what you can find and what you can explore. And the sutra that I'm talking about today talks about to find basically the essence from different points of view. This is what this journey for all of you actually is about. You come from different vantage points, you come from different notions of an individualized self, but you also come from different backgrounds, different ways how these teachings and all forms of non-dual teachings actually find you seemingly. Because seemingly, I say, because from a wider standpoint, all these teachings are part of you. They arise in you. Like every other appearance actually arises within your awareness. So they are already a part of you. So in a way, you can imagine more real, actually, that I am arising within you to offer you these kind of vantage points, these kind of pointers back to your essential essence. And this sutra talks about that what the meditation can orient itself in a way that is successful or that is necessary for the person, in the sense that the person loves that. It talks to them. It talks to them. It is a way how they want to get closer to this divine essence. So the previous sutras, he gave a lot of different pointers to the same essence. Like, for example, the inner light, the inner brightness, the brightness of awareness compared to thought. How can you start discriminating this vaster essence against the mind, against thought? And people, obviously, even back then, came from different backgrounds, different traditions. So there are so many different words for consciousness, so many different descriptions of awareness, whether that is the space of I am, whether that is consciousness, whether that is source or the divine. And so whatever is actually close to your heart, close to your soul's urging, your exploration also, different ways. And this is so wonderful also about scriptures and about these kind of teachings, because they all point to the same truth. And this is true whether you read Rumi, who talks about the self, and you come from a very like poetic kind of way, or you read the Yoga Sutras, in which he describes it for people that are interested in union and in also exploring consciousness in that way. Whether you talk to people from Advaita and they bring in their distinct view, or whether it was the teachings of Jesus that were also never about finding something externally. He's actually saying, if you look into the heavens for this, the birds will precede you. And if you look into the waters, the fish will. It isn't about that. He was also talking from awareness, from consciousness. The I stance that Jesus took is the stance from consciousness, from awareness. This is from what he is speaking. And so wouldn't it be wonderful, in my opinion, actually, if all these traditions that actually come from someone that has realized their true nature and is trying their best to describe the indescribable to you, when this would again be what many of these traditions then focus back onto. Like, how would a church look like in which the priest is actually again focused on you understanding your true nature, you discovering the kingdom of heaven? And not just always about how to become a better person, even though this is obviously also important. Don't get me wrong, but it is also about finding the self, because in that finding comes the most service-oriented way of being that you can actually imagine, because then everything is simply prompted by that vaster intelligence that you are. And obviously also knowing much better what is good or not so good in a situation than we with our limited minds can ever know. But wouldn't it be nice to go to a church and hear people talk about this kind of discovery again, going to monasteries where people are actually again talking about how to abide as awareness, how to discover your true self? Wouldn't that actually be so good to bring this wisdom back? And so in yoga, this whole text is about this discovery, the discovery of your unified essence, what is already unified in you. And it also talks about how to realize the self. Wouldn't that be wonderful if this was again part of all of these spiritual disciplines and spiritual traditions, where somehow it ends at the person, or the person finding out about soul aspects, and then this, I take this on now as my newest costume. But here it ends, because I don't know what in me is already transcendental and yet always immanent and here. And so all of you that are listening, that are so interested in non-dual teachings and in this true discovery of the self, your divinity, your real nature, and also what that implies is allowing this divine essence that you already are to come to the foreground, not just of your experience, but of what is then shared and offered to everyone. And each one of you that is listening has their own reasons why you are interested in true self-knowledge. Because You are meant to bring this forward in whatever it is, in whichever spirituality this is somehow here, out there, only for certain people, only for the very few, or not talked about at all, like in the church. It's almost like there is hopefully someone out there comes to my rescue. Nobody is gonna come to one's rescue from outside of yourself. It is you finding what they were talking about. You making this, turning it into your own knowing, coming aware of that dimension of yourself. And isn't that wonderful? As deeply as you go, as more as you start exploring this, the more this shines forth in your work, in everything you do. It is simply then centered by the divine. It will take on a completely different dimension of, because it comes from not a different dimension, but it comes from this deepest and vastest infinite dimension of yourself. And so this sutta is that he says, find a way how to meditate on the self with something that speaks to this person, that comes maybe from this tradition or that tradition, that has a certain wording around the self. What is the true self? What is universal consciousness? What is emptiness? What is awareness? All these terminologies, but also all these different deepest soul hearts connection points, the inner light, the inner divinity, the inner path, the pathless path, source consciousness, infinite intelligence. Whatever speaks to you, whatever you find is somehow not just as a goal, but also the love that you are. What is the motivation? What helps you in your orientation towards the self? What helps you not to actually lose hope, give up, have the mind come in and sabotage your own knowing, your own path? What keeps you steadily oriented? What keeps you discriminating between what is an appearance and what you are? So find what is, if you are a teacher, find what is helpful to someone, to someone's understanding. And obviously, all of it doesn't have to be so mental, can be more intuitive, and ultimately is guided exactly as it is just coming forth from you then. Namaste. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your presence. Namaste.